All right, started my video, changed my camera to the right camera, and we're going to get ready and take a look at 7.7. You had done code listings, and hopefully that gave you an interview or a start to what we're going to talk about today. And this section deals with arrays as function arguments, and I could put up my condensed notes, but we're going to also talk, oh, there we go, my condensed notes, but we're going to also talk about, how this is going to work in our functions that we're creating. Because up to this point, we've passed integers into functions, we've returned integers, we've done it for doubles. And so as we keep learning things, we're going to keep coming back to this idea of using them in functions, because functions / methods never go away. Okay, you're going to use them forever if you're programming, breaking these blocks of code up. All right, so an example of passing an array. Well, as you can see, if I have a method called, a function called show values, I want to pass in this array, the array called numbers. You notice when I pass it, it's just numbers. Okay, so this is my argument. And again, remember what an array is. It's kind of like a string. It's a reference variable, right? It's the beginning address of it. That's all we're going to need. When we receive, it's already been declared as int. So we know that's tied into it as well. And we are going to pass in the size of the array. So we now know how long it is that we want to be able to work with it. Back in Java, when we had an array and we wanted to know how long it was there a shortcut method written for us in Java to find out how big the array was?
Dot length.
Dot length. I
No,
wonder if there's something like that in C++. Something, that would eliminate having to pass in the size. All right, so when I actually am in the main and I call show values, I'm going to send in just the name of the array. I'm going to send in the size so I can work with it. Down in my function heading, I'm going to have a void because it's no return. Show values. Now, again, I'm creating an array that's going to get numbers addressed, and I need to make sure I put in int for the size so that it knows everything's going to be in terms of 4 bytes. Notice I also have here a local variable called size. Again, that's different than this one up here that deals with the main. This guy's scope is the main. This guy's scope is the function. And we did, in fact, talk a couple of classes ago about a global variable if we wanted to. Again, I'm not a big proponent of it. It can get you into trouble, but some of you saw it and you'd like to use it. So again, this guy numbers is going to work like our reference variables. Remember when we dealt with the ampersand, allowed the value to change. So what if I call it a function that deleted values? I might want to make this a reference variable because my size might change. But the way it's written now, the size won't change. All right, so if I take a look at this word written in red, why would I put const inside of my function called show values?
So that the function can't change the value.
Yeah, I might be able to get in here and, I might do some things with the array, change a value or two, but the constant is going to lock it down. So when I go back to the main, it stays that original array. So I don't accidentally mess it up. Now you had a couple of code listings, and again, here's the prototype void function int. This is me working with passing an element of the array. Okay, so this one is just an int. It's what's in my array, and it's going to be one of these numbers, 5, 10, 15, or 20. So hopefully typing in these code listings will be a big help. One of the things to remember when we were in Java classes, we really didn't get to spend a lot of time working with arrays. Some of you did get really good at it, and we'll go from there. Here's another one. It's what we were just talking about a moment ago. What is this called in line 10 when I declare the array right away inside of my program? What kind of initialization is this?
Implicit.
Implicit, right? Implicit initialization. And the other day you were doing salsa jars and you filled it, right? We filled the array right away, and we were working with parallel arrays. All right. And again, this is what I was just talking about in my notes. We have a local variable, nums. It's an array of integers. We get the address and we use size to work with it so we don't mess up our bounds area. So far, so good. Another example, my prototypes. Double the array, show values. I come in here, show values. I call double array. I'll show values again. What do you think is probably going to be happening in double array? I don't know if you all typed this one in or not.
You're doubling value.
Yeah, we're going to come in here and all of the values are going to get doubled. When I go back, I send the address back. And, if I would have put const in here, then this list would have been my original list. It wouldn't have been anything doubling. But because I didn't, this is an array, I'm able to change multiple values, all the values in that array. Questions? Kind of simple. Now, we talk about arrays as arguments, and we've done that with other things. And we could also, if we wanted to, get into a conversation about returning arrays, not as an argument, but as a return type. So as we go through and we keep learning things, it's going to keep coming back. We're going to pass in, in this case, arrays, and I can return arrays. Remember in chapter 6 in Java class, we learned about objects of a class. I could pass those in. I could return those if I wanted to. So parameters can be any data type. The return type can be any data type. All right, so I'm going to have you go in your groups. You're going to write 2 programs. All right. First one I'm looking at is page 457, number 10. Driver's license exam. All right, they asked you to write a program to grade their exams. There are 20 multiple choice. The correct answers are what you see. So right away, I'm thinking, oh, correct answers, what can I do? Instead of entering 20 of them, what can I do with these?
Can make a loop to store them in.
Now, give me an I word. I don't need a loop. I can do Mohammed say it. Implicit. Somebody, thank you. Right? I can store these in an array right away and be done. And I'm going to have sort of that parallel array kind of thing going on again, because the next thing is the user is going to enter 20 answers. What their answers were. Then you're going to go through and compare this array to the answer array to see how many they got correct. Okay. They need 15 to correct to pass the exam. So I'm thinking that here we go. You should display the total number of correct answers, total number of incorrect answers, which should be whatever minus 20 minus that. And this says a list of question numbers that I don't need you to get into all that. If you want to, you can put it in, but I want you to be working with arrays to solve this. Now, what am I thinking? Well, if I was writing this down, I would be doing something along the lines of these functions. Get answers, right? I'm going to have an array that stores all the student answers. I'm going to compare. Here's my array with the correct answers, my array with the student answers, and I'm going to make a reference variable that returns the number right. And then finally, Just can't make those darn ampersands. Let me try one more time. You music people like to call them treble clefs. That's a little better, something like that. Okay, that's a reference variable. Boom. Second program I want you to write is Fibonacci. Fibonacci sequence starts at 1. Anybody want to argue and say it starts at 0? Because that would work as well. 0, 1, 1, 1, blah, 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 blah. So it starts at 1, and then I fill the array after that by taking the previous 2 numbers and adding them together. So when I get to this location, I take those 2 and add them together. So if you want, when you create this array, when you fill it, you can start with an array that's partially initialized with 1 and 1 in. Then you would start here at location 2 and say 2 gets the value of 0 plus 1. This guy gets the value of those 2. So you would have a loop from location 2 to the end of your array so that you can fill it. How big of an array can we have? Well, that's something I want you to figure out, because believe it or not, this grows quickly. You know, next number's 21, then 34, then 55, and be curious to see how many you could put in there. Okay, so you're going to fill the array, first function. Second function, you're going to return an int. You're going to get term. So you're going to ask the user, what's the position of the term you would like to know? Now remember, our array goes 0, 1, 2, 3, but for them, they're going 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's on and off by 1. So you're going to ask the user for the position, pass that in along with the array, and return the number at that position. Okay. Then you're going to display that number and then display the entire array. What do you think? Challenge accepted?